A typical day? The only thing we can guarantee about your day is that it will be a far cry from typical. Your activities and schedule will vary depending on the country where you work. However, most trips follow a similar format. It will go something like this. First up, early breakfast and devotional time with your team. Then we'll meet with the local partners and train on 4-field strategy and tools. Next, we'll depart for the ministry locations. Next, we'll be modeling tools about evangelism and discipleship with the nationals that morning while looking for persons of peace. After that, we'll train new believers along the way and try to start small group meetings. We'll reach lunchtime and have lunch in the field. Then we'll go back out and do more evangelism and discipleship in the afternoon. Now, depending on the country, your team may finish up in the late afternoon and head to the hotel for dinner. But on other trips, you will continue your ministry after dinner. Doing ministry in another culture can feel daunting at times. There are many nuances to other cultures of which you may not always be aware. While your trip leaders will provide training for the culture you're serving, there are some general rules to keep in mind as you go. 1. Be flexible. As Americans, we tend to be very individualistic. When you go on a trip, you are part of a larger team. Your decisions have the potential to impact everyone else traveling with you. It's important to foster a spirit of love and unity. Do everything you can to cooperate and show grace in your relationships with team members and local partners. Avoid criticism and submit to the decisions made by your trip leaders. We encourage you to respect their authority without complaining. Likewise, get to know your team and take advantage of the opportunity to build lasting friendships. You are there to serve the local believers, not fix them. You will work closely with indigenous churches. Inevitably, they will have habits and customs that you haven't experienced before. You may even disagree with them, whether it's a choice of music or their attitude towards spiritual gifts. Your purpose is to serve them, not fix their perceived problems. If you do have concerns, we encourage you to speak with your trip leaders. Don't make promises or give monetary gifts. If you fall in love with your local partners with whom you serve, at times you may be tempted to make promises of gifts or support. Please do not make any promises and do not give any gifts, especially money, without clearing it with your trip leader first. They have a much better understanding of the needs and what's appropriate. Even when given with the best intention, gifts can cause problems and create jealousy. If people know that Americans are offering gifts, it could appear that we are paying people to convert to Christianity. While it isn't the case, we must stay above reproach. We want to avoid creating problems that our local partners must solve after we return home. We also don't want to create a relationship of dependency between us and the locals. If the ministry multiplies, they must be able to reproduce the model without outside funds. Any dependence on external sources limits its growing potential. It is so critical that you submit to your trip leaders on these matters and trust their judgment. In every country we serve, E3 Partners has a long-term strategy that is bigger than any individual. A gift given to the wrong person at the wrong time could hinder this strategy. Be sensitive to local partners. There will likely be a stark contrast between your lifestyle and theirs. While on this trip, observe the following rules. 1. Avoid talking about money. It can be a major distraction. If people ask you questions about finances, tactfully shift the conversation to another topic. Be discreet when pulling out money. Half of the world lives on less than $2 a day. You might be holding more money than they've seen in a lifetime. So be very considerate of this. Next, don't discuss politics. We are there to spread the gospel, not the American way. If people ask you political questions, tactfully change the subject. Next, be mindful of what you say in front of your local partners about their country. Discussing things like poverty, culture, and your opinion of the food may cause offense. They may like their food, and they haven't ever known a different standard of living. Help out your translator. During the week, you will be partnered with local believers who speak both English and the native language. You may find yourself working with mature local Christians and experienced translators, but for others, it is likely that this is their first time sharing their faith. Remember, this can be a great discipleship opportunity. Throughout the week, spend time encouraging your local partners. Help them take the lead by the end of the week. After all, they are the ones continuing the ministry when you leave. Next, tips for working through a translator. First, talk with your translator before you get started. Get to know each other. and practice a little doing evangelism together. You should both be familiar with the format and the strategy. When speaking, try to position the translator between you and the person you're speaking with. Keep your eyes on your audience, not your translator. Speak in a complete phrase and ideas. Don't speak in 1 or 2 words at a time. Concepts are often expressed differently in other languages, and your translator will need the entire idea before conveying your thought. Avoid jokes. Have fun, but be aware that humor doesn't often translate in other languages. I can for sure tell you this is true. You could even shock or outrage your audience by accident. Next, avoid slang. Your translator may not speak English very often. Using common American phrases often doesn't make sense in another culture, even to the English speaker. Next, avoid contractions. Next, speak slowly. Next, avoid references to American contemporary culture. Most people won't be familiar with the latest technological advances, TV shows, or even movies. Next, if the translator doesn't understand, simply repeat what you said. If that doesn't help, consider rephrasing your thought completely. Talking louder won't help, and Christian jargon will likely confuse them further. Keep it very, very simple. Don't overuse your translators. They are speaking all day long. Give them a break whenever you can. Just remember these few things. 1. Smile, even though you might be nervous. Next, be gracious. Next, feel free to ask questions of the people you meet. Ask them about their families and tell them about yours. Show them some family photos on your phone. Next, learn a few words in the local dialect. Even if you mess up, people love it when you try to speak their language. Next, avoid looking like a rich American. Be mindful of your clothes, jewelry, phone, and bags you carry. Remember, our idea of rich is different than ours. Be mindful of body language. For example, giving a thumbs up in some cultures can be obscene. In other places, letting people see the bottom of your shoe is insulting. Your leaders will brief you on gestures that should be avoided. While this may seem like a lot to remember, your trip leaders and local partners will guide you through it all. If you mess up, they can cover for you and get you back on the right path. Just be loving and gracious, as this covers a multitude of mistakes that we make.